Have you ever wondered if someone finds you attractive but just isn't showing it in obvious ways? The truth is, attraction isn't always loud or straightforward. Women often express it through subtle, rare signs that can easily go unnoticed if you're not paying attention. These little cues are far from random. They reveal how attraction can surface in unexpected, tender ways. If you've been overlooking these unique behaviors, you might be missing out on the truth about just how attractive you truly are. Today, we'll uncover 9 rare signs that you are very attractive to a woman, and you won't want to miss this. Sign 9, she shows interest in your hobbies. One of the most heartwarming ways a woman shows she's attracted to you is through taking an interest in the things you love. Think about it. If you've shared your passion for something unusual, like pottery, hiking off the beaten path trails, or collecting old vinyl records, and she starts asking you about it, that's a big deal. It's not just polite chit-chat. It's her way of saying, hey, I want to be part of this special world you've created for yourself. Maybe she doesn't know much about your hobby, but the effort she takes to learn about it, ask you questions, or even suggest joining you for a day of your favorite activity says plenty. If you're into bird watching and she suddenly names a random bird species in conversation, don't brush it off. Chances are she went out of her way to look it up because she cares about the things that matter to you. It's her way of stepping closer to you, hoping to find something you can share together. And here's the beautiful part. This often isn't something she does casually or with just anyone. For her, this is a personal investment. She's trying to create common ground, a shared space where the two of you can bond over something meaningful to you. And while there might be a touch of nervousness in her questions or her attempts to join in, that's a sign too. She's putting herself out there, risking looking a bit awkward or out of her depth because your passions have suddenly become important to her. This gesture reflects more than curiosity. It shows her willingness to connect with you in a deeper, more personal way. When she steps into your world, it's a tender invitation for you to notice the effort she's making to be closer to you. Sign 8, she seems nervous or clumsy around you. Have you noticed her fidgeting with her pen, touching her necklace repeatedly, or maybe even dropping things when you're around? This seemingly odd behavior isn't random. It's rooted in attraction. When a woman feels strongly about someone, her nerves often take over. You might catch her stumbling over her words, losing track of what she's saying, or even forgetting something simple she wanted to share. These little oops moments are signs that she wants to impress you, but feels the pressure of doing so. Even her body language might give away the butterflies she's feeling. She could be adjusting her hair several times or smoothing down her clothes subconsciously, as if trying to silently ask, do I look okay? What's amazing here is that it's all a reflection of how much she values your opinion of her. She wants to come across as her best self for you, and that effort, while sweet, can understandably make her feel a little on edge. If you've caught her losing her balance slightly while walking next to you or nervously laughing at jokes that don't quite land, take note. These are not signs of carelessness. They're her subconscious reactions to how much attention she knows you're giving her. She might also be more giggly or quieter than usual, depending on her personality. Either way, you'll notice some form of behavior change when she senses your presence. Attraction has a funny way of making people feel vulnerable, but here's the tender truth. Her clumsiness or nervousness isn't a flaw. It's a raw, genuine reaction to what you mean to her. These moments, though small, are her way of showing she's emotionally invested and that she's affected deeply by you being around. And yes, the fact that your opinion matters so much to her is a sure sign that she finds you incredibly attractive. Sign 7, she constantly fixes her appearance around you. If you found yourself noticing her subtle adjustments, whether it's smoothing her blouse, fixing her hair, or even reapplying lip balm, it's not a coincidence. When a woman feels drawn to someone, she wants to look her absolute best. But here's the thing. This isn't about vanity. Fixing her appearance comes from her desire to capture your attention and make sure you're noticing her in the way she hopes you will. You might catch her adjusting the strap of her bag, subtly checking her reflection in her phone screen, or running her fingers through her hair more often than usual. These actions aren't just habits. They're small gestures that reveal what's going on internally. She's hyper aware of how she looks in your presence because she knows your opinion holds weight. Interestingly, a lot of this behavior happens on autopilot. She may not consciously plan these little touch-ups. They just happen because she wants to present herself in the best light for you. And often, the more relaxed and confident she tries to appear on the surface, the more you see these unconscious adjustments happening. Maybe it's the way she suddenly seems excited to wear her best outfits when you're around, or how she opts for a stunning hairstyle on seemingly casual days. These changes often appear subtle, and she might think they go unnoticed. But for you, it's a clear, undeniable sign that she wants to stand out in your eyes. Her appearance adjustments don't just stand alone. They're her way of saying, I care about how you see me. It's a tender detail, one that reflects how much time and thought she's putting into her interactions with you. Sign 6, she asks very specific questions about your life. When a woman is attracted to you, she often wants to know you, not just on a surface level, but truly, deeply. Does she ask detailed questions about your career aspirations, childhood memories, or what inspired you to take up a particular hobby? These aren't the kinds of questions people casually ask. They're rooted in genuine interest and tied to her desire to connect with you. Think about it. If she's taken the time to ask about your goals, your favorite family traditions, or even what movie inspired you as a kid, she's trying to uncover the layers that make you who you are. It goes beyond small talk because she's invested in discovering what drives you, what makes you light up, and what's important in your life. This act of curiosity often comes with a lot of attentiveness, too. She remembers the small details you share, things you might forget you even said. For example, if you mention casually that you loved visiting a certain city on vacation, don't be surprised if she asks you more about it a week later or mentions a trip she'd love to take there. Specific questions also show that she's not afraid to step into emotional territory. She might ask about meaningful moments in your life or what you're hoping to achieve in the future. Her interest goes far deeper than just trying to keep the conversation going. It's about forming a bond, understanding you, and giving you the space to open up in a way that feels safe and valued. This attention to detail, her thoughtfulness with each question, and the way she dives into what makes you unique reflect her attraction to you. She values your thoughts and experiences because she's looking for that common emotional ground. Sign 5, she unconsciously mimics your gestures. Have you found her mirroring the way you lean in during conversation, matching your tone of voice, or even echoing your hand motions? If the answer is yes, it's probably not intentional on her part, but it is meaningful. This behavior, often referred to as the mirroring effect, is a subconscious sign of attraction. When someone mimics your gestures, it's their way of creating harmony and connection with you. It's a nonverbal way of saying, hey, I feel comfortable with you. For instance, if you cross your arms, she might find herself doing the same without even realizing it. Or maybe she starts to adopt the same phrases or expressions you use, small signals that indicate she feels drawn to you. Interestingly, this kind of mimicry isn't just about physical gestures. You might notice she also mirrors your emotional responses. If you're smiling or laughing, it's likely she's doing the same. If you're serious and focused, she'll tune her energy to match yours. This ability to sync up with you speaks volumes about the way she feels. It goes further too. Have you noticed that she starts showing genuine enjoyment in the things you like? Perhaps she's laughing a little louder at your jokes or showing interest in random details you share. These are all signs she finds comfort in aligning her behavior with yours, creating a connection that feels natural and mutual. When someone mirrors your physical and emotional state, it fosters a sense of closeness and shared rhythm. It's tender and personal. Her way of silently telling you that she feels in tune with you. Every small mirrored motion or shared laugh is her unspoken way of saying we're on the same wavelength. Sign 4, she talks about you to others. Have you started noticing that her friends, coworkers, or even acquaintances seem to know more about you than you've personally shared with them? This is a beautiful sign that you've been occupying a special place in her thoughts. When a woman starts mentioning your name in her conversations, it says so much about how deeply you've captured her interest. She might casually share stories about things the two of you did together, a funny remark you made, or even talk about something unique she finds charming about you. And while she may not always realize it herself, the act of bringing you up reflects how often you cross her mind. Interestingly, this isn't always about seeking validation from others. Sometimes she's simply processing her feelings and her growing admiration for you by talking about you with the people she trusts. Her conversations could even be a way of testing the waters. Maybe she's trying to gauge how others react to the idea of you, or subtly checking if her close circle would approve of her interest. If her friends or family start hinting about things like, oh, she told us about that thing you did, or she's mentioned you a couple of times, take it as a clear indication that she's been thinking about you outside of just your interactions. This behavior ties to something deeper. By talking about you, she's keeping you present in her own world, even when you're physically not around. It's her way of cherishing the connection she feels with you. She might not even consciously realize how much she's mentioning you, but the people in her life often recognize it. And so should you. These mentions are a reflection of the emotional significance you hold for her, making it a truly endearing sign of attraction. Sign 3, she reaches out for seemingly trivial reasons. Have you received random texts from her asking questions she could easily answer on her own? Like, do you have a good movie recommendation? Or what's the best place for coffee around here? Even those, hey, how's it going messages that seem casual might mean much more than what's on the surface. When a woman frequently reaches out for seemingly trivial reasons, she's actually finding gentle ways to keep the connection alive. This pattern is especially telling because she's consciously choosing to involve you in her day-to-day moments. Instead of relying on quick internet searches or asking someone else, she's reaching out to you. Why? Because keeping you in the loop, no matter how insignificant the topic may seem, creates opportunities for conversation. For her, it's less about the question itself and more about the connection that grows from it. For example, if she messages you late in the evening just to ask about a random TV show, it's not the answer she's after. It's your attention. She wants to hear your opinions, get your perspective, or simply have the pleasure of talking to you. And often, these quick interactions are her way of subtly showing you that you're on her mind. She doesn't want to come on too strong, so she finds lightweight, casual ways to keep the conversation flowing. These moments often reveal a lot about her feelings. You'll notice she's consistent in reaching out or genuinely engaged once a conversation starts. Maybe she's texting you just because, or maybe she's holding on to small details you share, circling back to them later. Either way, her consistent effort to stay connected reflects her growing interest. What's tender about this is that she's trying to create an easy, natural rhythm of communication without overwhelming you. These small messages are like little windows into how much she values staying connected, even if it means masking her deeper feelings behind seemingly simple questions. Sign 2, she laughs at your jokes, even when they're not great. Have you noticed her laughing at your jokes, even the ones that barely land? It's not because you suddenly became the funniest comedian in the room. This laughter often speaks to something much deeper. When a woman laughs at even your weakest humor, it's her way of expressing how much she enjoys being around you. Her laughter is an emotional response, not just a reaction to the joke itself. Think about it. True laughter comes from a place of connection. If she's laughing at your silly puns or your awkward delivery, it's because she genuinely relishes your company. Her aim isn't just to make you feel good, though that's part of it. Laughing at your jokes creates a warm, positive environment that deepens the bond between you two. This tenderness often stems from her attraction to not just your humor, but also your personality. She wants to make you feel comfortable and appreciated, and her laughter is like a subtle encouragement for you to keep being your authentic self around her. It's a sign that she feels emotionally aligned with you and wants to show you that she values the dynamic you share. You might even catch her laughing louder or more frequently than you'd expect in group settings. This is her way of singling you out and highlighting that your presence matters to her. She's drawn to the way you express yourself, even if what you're saying doesn't carry comedic gold. What's truly endearing about this sign is that it reflects how deeply she wants you to know you bring joy to her life. Her laughter becomes a bridge of connection, forging a warmth that reinforces her feelings for you. It's more than just a chuckle. It's her heart's way of saying, I'm happy with you. Sign 1, she intentionally ignores you. This one might seem counterintuitive, but attraction doesn't always manifest in straightforward ways. Have you noticed her acting distant, avoiding direct eye contact, or keeping her conversations with you brief? While it might feel like she's uninterested, don't jump to conclusions. Sometimes when a woman is deeply attracted to you, she'll intentionally avoid showing it as a defense mechanism. This behavior often stems from her fear of looking too obvious. She might feel vulnerable about how much she cares, so she creates distance as a way to protect herself. If she ignores you in group settings or opts to communicate with others instead of directly addressing you, it could actually mean she's struggling to hide her feelings. For instance, you might catch her stealing quick glances at you when she thinks you're not looking, or you may even hear from mutual friends that she asks about you when you're not around. These subtle clues point to the reality that she's consciously holding back to avoid showing all her cards. What's fascinating is that ignoring you can sometimes be a way to give herself space to process her emotions. She might overthink her every word or action, worrying about how they'll be interpreted by you. This overanalysis can lead to moments of quiet detachment or guarded behavior. The truth is, she's likely wrestling with her growing attraction to you while trying not to make it too obvious. This seemingly contradictory behavior is actually rooted in vulnerability. Her actions, though confusing, are a reflection of how significant you've become to her. She's struggling with the fear of rejection and the hope of connection all at once. And while this might leave you questioning where you stand, remember that her distancing is often a tender indication of how much you mean to her. Look beyond the surface behavior and you'll find subtle signs already pointing toward her deeper emotions.